Welcome to chapter number 7. And this chapter is an interesting one. It's about cross cultural communication and negotiation. And most of you are probably thinking communication itself is challenging, and then you add the dimension of cross culture, that it becomes even more challenging. And then you have to do negotiation. So listen carefully. I'm going to give you some shortcuts that will help you. Doesn't matter what the situation is. So let's get into this. Now, one of the things is, see, communication, let's break it down. Let me open up over here. I can show you something over here. See, communication normally, like between people that speak the same language, there's tons of research that is done on this, can be divided into three parts. Okay. By the way, the first letter for the quiz password, again, it's a 5-letter word. It's M as in Mary, M as in Mark. Okay, so communication can be divided into three parts: body language, tonality, and the words that people speak. So if all this were to total 100%, what percentage would you apply to these different components? When I show the answer, you'll be a little surprised. So body language is actually 55% of communication. Okay. Tonality, 38%. And the words that we use is 7%. So the words only mean 7%. And another thing that I would add to this is the energy. Nobody actually did any research on this, is how you approach the person. If you are happy and you approach the person, more likely you'll get better service. Let's say you go, try this as an experiment. Let's say you go to wherever you go, supermarket, wherever you go, follow social distancing and whatever rules there are. And inside, think that you're angry and you're frustrated and just negative thoughts, and just think about those, and then you go ask somebody for help. Less likely you're going to get help. But now clear that and think about something good, something happy, something fun, and then go approach someone. More likely you will get a lot better response. And the other thing is, you have to be human and understand the other person is a human being too. So this is like the fundamental foundation. That's how you communicate. So every human being has wants, needs, they're going through their life. You just acknowledge that. So the other day, this is a while back, I went to a restaurant. I don't know if you guys know Aga's. That's an awesome, restaurant in Houston, Indian Pakistani food. So in case you like it. So this place, it was kind of a little late, and 10:30 or so, they kind of close a little late. So I'd ordered some food, and then I was picking it up, and I had ordered, as I was there, I asked them for some plates and, some fork spoons. So the lady was giving me that, and then she said, "Oh, I got like 3 bags of the food. You want, I can put it in a bigger bag." Okay. So I said, "No, you must be tired because it's probably a long day for you." And she felt so good. I mean, it's like I'm acknowledging what she is in. Like, she probably had a long day. Who knows? But she felt like she touched her heart, and she said, "Oh, thank you so much." And every time after that, again, that was not meant to be like, I didn't want anything from her or anything. So every time I go there after that is like, she says, "Hey," she talks to me, and sometimes she just gives me like, "Hey, this is a new dessert, take it." She doesn't even charge me, and even though I insist on paying, but again, the goal was not to get anything free. The goal is I recognize her as a human being. I acknowledge that, you know, so she felt good. Okay. Another example, this is a few years ago. My mom was here. Actually, she unfortunately passed away 3 months ago. She was, I took her to NASA, and there was a young kid. He was probably 16, 17. And he actually looked a lot younger than that. And so he just walked up to me and says, "Can I help you with something?" I said, "Wow, you look so young, and I mean, how did you get to get work over here?" Small talk. And after that, I said, what do you know? Tell me about this. And he was so enthusiastic. He was telling me things. And I said, let's call your supervisor. And he was a little scared. I said to the supervisor that this kid is so amazing. I mean, he knows so many things. And after that, the kid was so happy, and he was like, let me take you back and let me show you some things. So again, I did not do any of those things to get anything from them. Okay, you just acknowledge the other person as a human being and see what it is that they're hungry for. Everybody is hungry for something. And you know what is the number one? This is like the ninja skill. Everybody is hungry for acknowledgement. Even a person that is doing really terrible job, they, okay, what do you think they would like to be acknowledged for? Let's say somebody is goofing off, like you go customer service and they're just not even paying attention to you. So they are probably bored. They don't like that job. So what would you say to them? For answers to questions like this and more, please come to my Jinja class. And again, I don't do Jinja class. This is Jedi plus Ninja skills. So the students, when this is during the face-to-face classes, would think that these are Jedi skills, and some thought it was Ninja skills. So Jedi plus Ninja, that is Jinja class. All right. Because see, whatever skills you have, accounting, marketing, whatever it is, it's good only for a few years. After that, when you become a manager and the higher up you go, the more communication and interpersonal skills are a lot more important, right? So keep that in mind. And this is the way, see, some people volunteer at the animal shelter, or, volunteer to help homeless people. This is what I'm volunteering my time to help you, because I want to help you become even more successful. So let's get back to the chapter. So try that exercise. If you kind of missed it, let me repeat that is go with bad energy and see how people communicate with you, and then just clear that and think about good things, happy thoughts, and then approach someone. You'll notice a difference, right? So as you can see, words actually don't mean as much. How do you approach something? That's important. Another thing that I want to tell you about body language is, see, if you're like, watching this lecture like this, like, it's very likely what message are you sending to your body? Sending that, it's not that important. Guess what? You're not going to retain as much. I mean, that applies to not just this class, but everything else in life. And here is another cool trick. If somebody is doing that to you, like you're talking to them and they're not even paying attention, and let's say they're sitting on the chair, it's like this. So offer them something, and don't give it to them in their hand. Just, this is a cool thing. You want to take a look? And so let them come close to you. See, the body language is actually extremely important, not only in communication, but when you are actually, even when the other person is not talking, okay? So if the person is like this and you show them something cool and they come forward, guess what? Now they are more invested, more interested in what's going on, okay? Keep that in mind. These are really awesome skills, and they will help you a lot. Feel free to watch this over and over. That's why these are the videos. Now, the next thing is, let's go into this. Communication, it's a two-way process. And in this day and age, you can instantly communicate with anyone, photos, videos, you can do that. But, the connection between people is more important than the content. There are different communication styles, high context societies, which is, there's a map in your, let's go over here. There's a map. Yeah. Oh, by the way, look at this Netflix. This case is pretty good. Like how Netflix did its global expansion, how it kind of collaborated with some companies, like phone companies, and how they were able to expand their business. They didn't make an excuse like, oh, China, we can't do this, but they found a local partner. That's so. So this is a pretty good case. Go ahead, read that. Um, then, this is, I was going to show, yes. So this is the, by the way, it might look like I'm jumping here and there, but there is a reason. If you can keep track of multiple levels of communication and multiple things that are going on, you will become a better manager. Okay. If you just do things linearly, um, you will be better at whatever you do, accounting, marketing, whatever it is. But if you ever want to move up, you need to be able to keep track of multiple conversations that are going on. Imagine a manager, there are people throwing different ideas and different things. The person needs to keep all these ideas in their head and say, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll come back to that later and address something, things like that. So here you have this communication, whether it's high context, low context. So the darker color means it's low context, and the lighter is high context. So in another point I want to make in addition to this is the gender also plays a role. Like you probably, I'd say if you're with someone, let's say your spouse, your female, let's just say somebody. Most of the females, not all of them, most of them are used to speak, implying things, not directly saying. So if you're with someone, she might say that, the garbage stinks. The message there is take out the garbage, but she's not going to say that directly. And you being the man, you might say, yeah, but it's only half full, so you're like, I'm going to let it sit. So you're not getting the message that the garbage needs to be taken out. Again, not, I just gave you a silly example, but communication itself is challenging between people. And when you add gender to it, race to it, culture to it, all these factors make it more complicated. So you have to understand, and the best way to do that is find out what the person needs in that particular moment. What is it that you need and what is it that you want? So first take care of what the need is and then take care of the want as well, right? So figure out what the need could be and try to, this need, try to, give them that. Try to see how you can provide them whatever it is that they need. Like in most of the Asian culture, the respect, people need respect. They need to be called by their proper names and titles and all that. So that's important. So make sure you, make sure you know how to address people, know how to say their names. All right. So this thing is a low. I see. All right. This is an interesting quote. This is, knowledge is not the same as greater knowledge. I mean, greater access to the knowledge is not the same as greater knowledge, and that an ever increasing plethora of facts and data is not the same as wisdom. This is a person by name Carr, and he is saying that we, in this day and age, we have access to so many things, but we need to be able to sort through things and, focus on the more important things. So, and this also talks about what type of communication, what type of verbal style is important in what kind of communication. Okay. And again, you have different types of styles and variations in that. So make sure you are aware of that, because this is like a toolbox. See, you can't just have a hammer and then become a carpenter. You need to have other tools too, or for you to be a plumber, you can't just have the wrench. You need to have a whole bunch of other tools. So that's what this is. This book is actually giving you a whole bunch of different tools, and pay attention. These are actually really good tools. And then the communication, how do people communicate? It's the next letter is A for the next, and it's a small a. So the first one was capital M. The first letter was M, capital M. The second letter is A, which is a small a. Okay. So communication, how do you like typically between subordinates, from manager to the employees, it's downward communication. And if you look at different countries, not the map over here, it's over here on this one. Okay, well, we'll come to that in a second. So in US typically is, let me show you that. All right. Okay. Maybe I was thinking of something else. Anyway, so in US, mostly the communication is direct communication. Uh, and other countries, it's like Japan, example, it's indirect. And there are lots of implications. And most of the, so we go back to all right, so downward communication from managers to subordinates is usually direct in the US, but in Asian countries, it's less direct. Then, okay, so this is the one I was looking for. So right here is the chart, sorry. And upward communication is, in US, people like to get the feedback, what's going on, from like managers would love to get feedback from the employees to see how things could be improved. And in some other countries, it's not really that important, just the upper management just tells employees what to do. Okay. Then we get the communication barriers, as I discussed. Language is one thing, culture is another thing too. And even like, even English speaking countries, as the textbook talks about, some of the words could be different or they could mean different, right? The textbook has really good examples on so many different things. So go ahead, read the textbook. It's pretty good. And here is like how many people read or are multilingual. So in European countries, it's actually not a surprise that most of the people know, more than one language, like two or three. That is because the countries that are, like UK and Germany and France, they're so close to each other and you're doing business with each other, you have to know the language of the other country in order to do commerce or in order to do business. Imagine like in the US, if Texas had a different language, Oklahoma had a different language, Louisiana had a different language, what would you do? You would have to know the language to be able to interact. So in US, we are lucky. We have this big giant country with everybody speaks English. So don't beat yourself up too much like Americans don't know the language. No, it's not required. Plus, the whole world also speaks English, but it would be nice to learn another language. Now I'm actually learning Spanish on Duolingo. It's interesting. So here it says that the number of people in the U.S. learning a foreign language is pretty low. But as I mentioned, that's the reason for that. But try to travel to different countries. I've traveled, not to brag, but more than 50 countries, and that actually makes you so much richer in understanding of different things in the world, how people do things. Best advice I would give you is to slow things down. Okay. And to ask people for advice, or would go a long way. So the third letter for your password is G. G right here, as you can see. G as in girl, G as in gray and green. Okay. And this is also interesting, like, the different how, if you just translate things, like assume nothing becomes do nothing. Um, come alive with Pepsi. Pepsi will bring your ancestors back from the grave. So many times when you're translating things, they don't really mean the same. So you got to be careful as well. In this day and age, actually, the Google Translate does a pretty good job. Now here it talks about what to do, what not to do, business card, bowing, attire, things like that. Interesting, go through that as well. And what are the common proverbs? What do they mean? And there could be a lot of misinterpretation about how, what different people mean. Like paper sizes over here, what does, like different normal words could mean so many different things. So And then, as I mentioned, nonverbal communication provides a good, you got to see how the person is reacting. Also, another caution about that, don't put too much emphasis on nonverbal communication. Like somebody is, like maybe they, that doesn't mean they are standoffish or they're not interested. Somebody is like, folding their hands and they could be, that's how they feel comfortable, or they could be feeling cold, could be lots of things. So unless you see multiple things that are suggesting something, you can just ignore that. Another thing that I want to add over here is see, you need to also focus on the words that you use. Like, there is a reason why kids don't listen to parents. Okay, this is going to come as a shock. Listen to this really, really carefully, because the parents are typically telling kid what not to do. And there is a lot of research that has been done, is the way we understand things is we have to make an image of that thing, make a picture of that thing in our head, and then we act on it. So give you an example, like if I were to tell you, don't think of your favorite dessert, guess what? I'll repeat that. Do not think of your favorite dessert. What are you doing? You're probably thinking of your favorite dessert, right? Most of you are. See, and again, the favorite dessert could be anything: tres leches cakes, strawberry cake, whatever it is, ice cream, whatever it is that you like, whatever it is that you enjoy. So what the command was, don't think of something. Rather, so let's say for the kids, you say, Bobby, don't jump in the puddle. All right, what's Bobby gonna do? For 2 seconds, he thinks, don't jump in the puddle. He has a picture of him jumping in the puddle. Guess what? 2 seconds later, he is in the puddle, right? Instead, if you tell the kid, walk away from the puddle, now he has a picture, right? So make sure when you communicate things, make sure you include the things you want people to do. Never ask, okay, so what is stopping us from doing this deal? Guess what? They're going to come up with a million reasons. Okay. Instead, focus on what is common and what it is that you can agree on, and then start moving forward from that. You could say, I understand that you have some reservations about this deal. Let's focus on the things that we agree on, and let's see how we can make this work better for you. All right. So let me ask you, what is it that needs to happen for you to sign the paper today, or whatever it is? So keep moving them towards solution and not ask them for problems. One other issue that people, or one other problem that people do is, you will not be sorry. You will not regret this. What are you doing? You're putting pictures of regret and sorry in their mind, and then they're going to be sorry. There was another experiment that was done where students were given words: Florida, oranges, hospital, nursing home. And guess what? After reading those words, there were like quite a few words. They noticed that the students were a little more lethargic compared to the other list where students were reading positive, good words. So don't think that, it's just hot air coming out. Whatever you say, slowly, slowly, it keeps building. So remove any negative words that you're going to be using, just use positive words. Right? So it says provide language training, cultural training. Those are good things. You have to understand how people in different cultures interact. And again, this is the type of, color. Funeral color is white in India and Asia too. Here it is used for weddings. Some could argue. I'm just kidding. Sorry for that. Who's dying? So anyway, you have to understand the cultural nuances before you start doing things. And if you are in doubt, you just ask. Just say, hey, what? I don't understand this. This is how I think it is, and can you help me? Is that how you are also understanding this? So it's good to see if you're on the same page as you're doing negotiations. So negotiations could be either distributive, which is, you want to beat the other person down on price and get things from them. Interesting thing, when I was in China in the pearl market, by the way, the fourth letter is I, okay, for your password. Fourth letter is I, okay, yeah. Um, okay, so when I was in China, pearl market, okay, one thing, China, even Spain, Italy, Mexico, don't ask for the price or don't bargain if you don't intend to buy. Like in China, they will actually run to your car, actually follow you to your car to give you that, because if you start bargaining, that means you are interested. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, you'll be like, oh no, I was just kidding. No, that they don't take that seriously. Um, and here is also like what kind of bargaining, like as you can see, Arabic countries, you see, there's a lot of leeway in how much the bargaining goes on over here. Can you see that? But versus in Japan, there's not much bargaining going on. Okay, same thing in the U.S. So keep that in mind as you're going through different things. And there is a good framework that is provided over here about negotiation and the process of negotiation. Let me switch over to this over here so we can look at that. I mean, there are lots of other things also, but I'm focusing on key points, key criteria. By the way, the last letter is C, C as in Charlie, okay? That's the last letter, C as in Charlie, for your password. Okay, so when you're negotiating, separate the people from the problem. So if there is a problem, people tend to take it personally. So the best way to say is, don't say that, oh, you might have made a mistake or something like that. Just say that there seems to be an issue with this thing. Can you help me out with this? And focus on, with the outcome rather than the posturing, things like that. Generate and have options ready, in case they don't go for something that you're looking for. Maybe there's something else that you can ask. And this is very true. Objective criteria, especially in Asian countries, people are used to saying yes. Yes doesn't mean they're going to do it. So, there has to be some kind of criteria that, okay, you say somebody, can you give this to me by Friday? They say yes, because that's the polite thing to do. Another polite thing to do is in Asian countries, India, especially India, if somebody offers you something to eat or something, gift, whatever it is, polite thing to do is say no initially, okay? So you have to insist 2-3 times before the person actually takes it. So understand these things. And then, stand your ground. So whatever you have come up with as far as negotiation is concerned, you say this is what we agreed on, you put that in writing, and the negotiation is done, okay? So you don't want to go back and forth once you go through the steps. All right, so this is a really interesting chapter. It's cross-cultural communication and negotiation. So as I mentioned, let's do a quick recap. So focus on the word that you're using. Focus on actually the person. The person in front of you is the most important thing. Try to see what kind of mood they are in and what would work better. In a way, kids are actually a lot smarter. Kids never ask for anything until they know that the parent is in a good mood. So if the kid wants a toy or something, the kid is kind of trying to figure out if the parent is in a good mood. And guess what? The smart kids basically do this is they ask for what it is that they want once they know the parent is in a good mood, and then they use their charm, okay? And smart kids actually say, yeah, let's go right away, get the toy, or they say, do you promise? So they are getting the commitment also, like pinky promise, whatever. All right. So kids actually know these negotiation steps. So understand how people are, where they're coming from, what is it that they need and want, and give them that. And at the same time, we approach it with a positive, positive mentality, and be practical also, because you want to, it has to be a win-win situation. You don't want to bend over backwards for something that might not be good for you. All right. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in other videos.